Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. Um, I just wanted to pop up here. I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I thought I would see about maybe doing some sewing here or at the same time I record a video. I'll admit, right now I'm trying to do everything I possibly can to stay awake. I really do need to today. My friends, they're all at work. Both of them, Rick, he works in the morning, and if both him and Angie are going to work, then their daughter will make sure that their son gets off to the bus, first thing in the morning. But it was a little bit unusual today because Rick's schedule changed a little bit, and he is having to be filling in for somebody for this evening. So he works retail. So yeah, and Megan, their daughter, she is working also today. She just started a part-time job a few weeks ago, and she's not going to be home until a little after 4 today. So, their son, he gets home at around 3 o'clock. So I'm it. I'm the babysitter today, basically. I mean, he is an older child, I guess you could say. I think he just turned 16 a couple months ago. But he also deals with autism. So he has a learning disability and so forth, so he can't be left home alone. So somebody would have to be here with him. Oh my goodness, this thread really got messed up a little bit here. There we go. We'll pull that out a little bit. I don't know what it is with kind of cross stitch, but for some reason, when I'm working with multiple threads, I always wind up with one that becomes longer. They start off the same length. I could show you here. See, they all start off the same length. I know you really can't see it very well, both ends, same length, but one of the threads will wind up being longer than the others. Don't quite understand how that happens, but it does. So, anyway, it can kind of create uneven stitches, but anyway, I know that a lot of the instructions out there with like these kits and so forth, or these projects, I should say, will tell you to work with an embroidery hoop, one of these little doohickeys. And I do usually do it if I'm working, or I do use it, when I am working with thinner fabrics. But with Ada cloth, or Aida cloth, or Ida cloth, however you want to pronounce it, there's 3 different pronunciations that people will use. It tends to be a bit of a thicker material, and it's and especially in more recent years, I've noticed it's gotten to be a lot stiffer than what it even used to be back when I first started sewing. So yeah, it has a tendency to be a bit thick. So as you can see, I got my edges taped off here to help with fraying, because at the edges, the threads can wind up coming loose. So yeah, and this is how far I've gotten so far. I know, a lot further than what it was the other day when I had showed you guys. The face here, I finished this up last night. I was having some serious issues last night with these latest storms going through. They were flaring up right above us, pretty much right on top of us, and causing me a lot of headaches, the downward pressure of on my head, dizzy spells, wanting to pass out from just fatigue, just bam, and that's the thing. I figured out a good analogy to describe what it is that I go through. And of course, along with that, the hungers, the cravings, because my body is looking for energy to try and keep going, you know. And yesterday, those cravings, that hunger, okay. I'm like, what the heck is the dog? The cravings, the hunger was really uncontrollable. I couldn't stop it. And I just kept eating. And I get it because of what was going on, how my body's responding to what's going on with the environmental conditions. The barometric pressure was down to 29.92. I haven't looked at it today. It's supposed to be rising today. But yeah, I had my physical therapy this morning, and there were moments where it was really taking everything I had to stay awake. You know, I'm laying there on the table. He's doing all the stretching, the pulling, the massaging, you know, this, that, and every other thing. And like I said, it's taking everything I had to stay awake. So that's why I'm like, okay, I just got done eating and so forth. And of course, I'll admit too, it doesn't help either with the food. You know, of course, that's going to raise your blood sugar. But I'm also got the counterintuitive thing going on with my insulin kicking in also, which is dropping blood sugar. So you got that going on in the system, and yeah, it's a lot that my body is trying to do all at the same time, while of course, you know, dealing with all these environmental conditions. And I figured out a really good analogy with how to maybe help you all understand what it is that somebody who is in my position, what we're going through. Okay? Imagine being in a social setting. Okay, you're like in a crowded room, maybe a party or this or that, and you're talking to somebody you're really attracted to and so forth. You know, you want to make that good impression, you know, don't want to embarrass yourself and this and that and every other thing. And then never fails, guess what happens? You wind up with an itch in a very embarrassing situation, a very embarrassing place. Okay, whether it's your private, you know, or maybe the bottom of your foot or somewhere, you're winding up with an itch and you don't want to be scratching it, you know, because of course it's embarrassing. Who wants to be, you know, talking to somebody trying to make a good first impression or this or that or whatever, and you need to scratch your crotch. Okay, imagine that. We've all been there. It's the only analogy I can really think of to help you understand, you know, what it's like. And it's uncontrollable. No matter how much you try and ignore it, you know how that works out. It's going to just keep at it until you finally scratch it, right? Am I right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've all been there. So, and let's face it, it's embarrassing. You finally have to either just get in there and take care of it, or excuse yourself to find someplace private, whether it's a bathroom, a storage closet, coat room, whatever, and take care of that. Because otherwise, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Well, that's what I deal with on a constant basis with all this. Okay? Especially when, you know, obviously when weather is great and so forth, I have all kinds of energy. I am doing things, working, taking care of stuff around the house, doing whatever it is that I need to do. But the minute the weather changes like this, bam, I am right down, and that need to fall asleep, that it's not a need, it's just it's like, basically it's like narcolepsy, okay? Where it just happens, and it will happen out of the blue. Like yesterday, I, for those of you who know, I have a little kitty kitty. She's my baby. She's more than just a cat to me. Basically, she's my daughter from another mother sort of situation. I love her to pieces. But anyway, I had gotten her some new litter because her box really needed to be changed out. I've cleaned her box a couple times a week, but once a month I usually like to just swap out the litter, give her a whole new fresh litter. And I bought some yesterday. I was in the process of doing that, and I dumped it, and then I like to also give her box a really good scrubbing. Also, I'll clean out some of the stuff that kind of accumulates or whatever, stains, I guess you could say, at the bottom of the box. But unfortunately, yeah, there towards the end, I was almost finished with getting it cleaned up, and all of a sudden the fatigue just hit, and it's overwhelming. Unfortunately, it's overwhelming, cannot control it. And it took everything I had to finish, get back up here, put the litter in, and then I crashed. There was no stopping it. And that's what happens. And when I woke up, I had that uncontrollable need. It wasn't a desire. It's just an uncontrollable need. I needed to eat something, even though I wasn't having a low blood sugar or anything like that. I just needed, I just needed to eat. It was that uncontrollable of, it didn't matter really what it was. I just felt like my body was just screaming at me, I need energy. And so, yeah, anyway, that's what I mean. Just like right now, I just had that overwhelming feeling hit me just now where I just want to crash. Sometimes it makes me really dizzy. And I just need to calm down and relax a minute. I just want to. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. And then, of course, the brain fog will kick in also. And whew. But on a positive note, at least the pain isn't as bad. Not nearly as bad as what I was dealing with before, which is awesome. I just want to curl up and sleep. And he's going to be home in about 20 minutes. But I do have to clean out the kitchen. My dishes downstairs. I really need to brush my teeth. I was going to see about doing laundry today, but I'm going to skip it. I was thinking that I would try and do my yoga stretches during this time. Yeah, it is too. Do my PT, things like that. Try and keep myself awake until their daughter gets home so she can watch Sean. It is difficult. It's very difficult. And imagine this, going through this. Whew. Imagine going through this while you're trying to work. Any job. Doesn't matter. I realize I do deliveries for a living, and I do that primarily because this happens so irregular. Trying to hold steady a regular job is very, very difficult. Maintaining any sort of a schedule even just trying to make appointments can be very difficult sometimes. I just want to crash. But I know if I try and fall asleep right now, like last night, I got done with with his face, and I just I didn't want to work anymore. I really didn't have the energy for it or anything. I just wanted to lay down for a little bit. I could have gone to bed, but it was a little bit too early for me to take my nighttime insulin. So I'm like, okay, let me just lay down for a little bit and go from there. And I thought, okay, I'll probably wake up in an hour or something like that. Nope. I died this was around 11:30 or something like that. I woke up shortly after 3. Yeah. And I'm surprised, and to be honest with you, with how I was feeling, even when I woke up, I thought for sure, I'm surprised I didn't sleep all night. I'm really surprised. So, gosh. But it's because of things like this is the reason why, too, I'm gaining weight, especially with all of the cravings, the munchies. So, oh, that's what else I was going to mention. I did do quite a bit of research, especially after that low pressure system that formed up there around. Uh-oh. Hi. Somebody's coming to visit. Mommy. Hi. Sweetie. Come on. Come on. She's like, but Mommy. All right, here. There we go. Okay. Oh boy. Now the mailman is across the street delivering the mail, so now the dog downstairs has to be throwing a royal fit. Anyway, that was the other thing I was going to mention in this video. After I got done recording, and especially, oh, I guess she's going to go lay down there. So I can get back to doing what I was doing before. There we go. Hi. All right. So what I did is with that low pressure system that formed there on the Canadian border, and really paying attention to what I was feeling, what I was experiencing, and so forth. It really made me feel like with the swelling that I was dealing with, and that I go through on a constant basis with these storms. It made me feel like I'm a hurricane barometer, if you know what I'm talking about with those. If you don't, go look it up, okay? There are a couple of different kinds, which I did not know about. The one that I was thinking of, the ones that they're very, very common in the South, okay? They basically, they kind of look like a kettle, you know, like one that you put on the stove, but it's like two different parts, but they're done together. They're glass, okay? There's the one part that kind of looks like a teardrop, all right? But then attached to it is a spout, and that it's a spout that has a hole, the only air hole, okay, in it. And what they do is they take fluid, usually colored water, or it's a bunch of different fluids mixed in together, and it's usually a color, usually blue. Okay, that's the ones that I'm used to seeing anyway. And they fill it through the hole, so that way it's in the spout. And how it works is when the pressure is rising, okay, like high pressure systems, what that does is high pressure system, even though the barometric pressure is showing that it's going up, what's actually happening in the atmosphere is the air is that pressure system, that high, is pushing down pressure onto the ground, okay, in the atmosphere. And what that does is it causes the fluid in that spout to be pushed down into that reservoir, okay, into that teardrop, okay. Now, when pressure is low, okay, which is basically what a hurricane is, okay, it's a low pressure system, and then you got all the rain bands swirling around that low pressure system. When the pressure is low, even though you have your arrow pointing downward, what's actually happening is that pressure that was being pushed down before or was stabilized or whatever in the atmosphere, what is happening is that pressure is being released, and that pressure is going up, okay? Going back up into the atmosphere, basically, okay? So that releases the pressure that is in the spout. And what winds up happening with that water is it winds up coming back up through the spout. Sometimes if the pressure is so low, it like happens quite frequently with hurricanes, is that water, that fluid, will come spouting out through the air hole. Okay, so you know that it's going to be a pretty monster of a storm. Okay. So, and that's how I feel with my body, with what is always happening, especially with this swelling, as it isn't just in one area, like when somebody will have arthritis in a joint or what have you, they may have one or both of their hands swell up or whatever. With me, it's everywhere, my whole body. And not only that, but also dealing with the nervous system and the epithelial cells, the blood, within the blood vessels and whatever those are called. But anyway, everything combined, it just, okay, this is how I'm feeling. So I started researching that, what is actually happening in the body when somebody is dealing with arthritis, with why a person's body will swell with low pressure systems, so on and so forth. And with looking at all of that, I started understanding even more what is really going on with my body, why I'm getting the cravings, why the fatigue, why all of this. So I'm in the process. I did decide, after researching all of that, I decided to go back on the L-arginine vitamin C combination supplements that I was taking before, okay? I decided not to do the fish pills, as I call them, the pro-resolving mediators, primarily because I feel like things have pretty much already healed as much as they're going to get, okay? So I feel like I'm just kind of like wasting my money at this point. And to be perfectly honest, I've been out for like a couple of weeks now, and I haven't really needed them, What I'm going through is more, I guess you could say, residual trauma, okay, with what I was, like with a broken bone or something, you get it healed to a certain point, but you're always going to have issues with that area for the rest of your life or whatever, kind of like that, okay? That's kind of what I'm, the way I'm feeling as far as the PRMs are concerned. As far as the creatine is concerned, I decided not to go on that. I could probably still use that. I still have some left. But I also was reading with the creatine that it does add water to your muscle cells. So, and with all the swelling that I'm going through, and I know part of it is water, that it would probably be a good idea for me to just cut it out. So that's what I'm going to stick with for right now. Yeah, I just got done with the green area there. Ta-da! Yeah, I know. He's coming along. His legs will be down here, and then he's holding some sort of greenery here. And then in the background, there's some mountains, and then as you get closer, there's a couple of cacti here, and then some, like, ground flooring or whatever that they... And then also, they don't show it here on the pattern, and there's nowhere in the instructions either, but the final picture, what they did was they took some individual strands and put them in here and then frayed them out. You know, they're not actually sewn into the fabric. They're just tied onto the ends here and just kind of frayed out a little bit. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking that that's what yeah, like I said, that's what that's where I'm at with my research, and I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to maybe help with the situation. And of course, that's going to be the age-old question, because with people who actually have dealt with arthritis for however, you know, basically since the beginning of time. And more than just, how do I put it? More than just putting a Band-Aid on something, like what we have a tendency to do with everything, medically speaking, anyway. Oh, and that's the other thing I was going to mention. When I'm done, even though the pattern doesn't call for it, I'm going to put a border, so some sort of a border around, and then make a frame. Before I forget. So, yeah, and as you can see, what I do with my pattern, I don't know if, you know, it has all these individual key marks with the corresponding legend to let you know, okay, you're supposed to be, this mark here is for this color, you know, and what the number skein is. Not how many skeins, but the number color. There we go. And what I like to do is, so I can keep track a lot easier, go through and blacken in the area so I know what I've already done. Alright. So anyway, I need to get me another pencil. So I can keep it in there. I've only got one pencil, but I need another one so I can keep it in my sewing box here. And I like to use a pencil when I'm doing my calendar. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I can learn how to live with this. Learn how to have a life with this. Not just for work, but so as I get tired of sleeping all the time, to be perfectly honest. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure a lot of things out with how to deal with all of this. And I know it's, like I said, I know it's the age-old question with a lot of people, with everybody, really, who deals with arthritis and these sorts of situations. I realize that this is a bit extreme, but we're also dealing with trauma that has happened to the body. And to be perfectly honest, I very much would like to be able to lose all of this weight, and me being in this pretty much this never-ending cycle hasn't helped matters. So that's the big question. What do I do? And more than, like I said, more than just putting a Band-Aid on it. Oh, okay, I got some aches and pains here. Let's take some ibuprofen or whatever. It's more than just that. And two, doing that sort of stuff, basically doing that, that sort of stuff also it helps calm it down, but with my situation, it puts me to sleep. And what am I already dealing with? Right. So then you wind up in that never-ending cycle. So I'm working on things. And the more that I feel that I can figure out, what's going on with my body and everything, then maybe I can research things to try and help counteract it. I don't want to say control it. I think that's too strong of a word, as I think it's more how to work with it. That's what I'm trying to say. Be more empathetic, compassionate, finding balance with it. So that's my goal. And I can't help but laugh every time I think about this and the storms and so forth and everything. I remember when I was in the process of gathering my medical records to take with me to Mayo, and I got one set of my records from one of the doctors out there in Vegas. And it was really funny because with reading the doctor's notes, because I had made the complaint about storms out there and everything. And that's the thing out there, too. I still deal with storms. Just wouldn't be necessarily dealing with as extreme of cold of weather, which is a big factor. But like this year, I've noticed with watching the weather patterns out there, it's been a pretty wet year so far. And for out there anyway. And it's not even the monsoon season. So, but anyway, with making the complaints or saying that, that's a big trigger for me. When I was talking with one of the doctors out there and reading his notes afterwards, when I got the records last year, it was so funny. He made the notation, about the fact, of having issues with storms. He made a notation, stay away from storms. I'm like, what planet do you live on? I don't know of anywhere. Not even the Sahara, you're still going to be dealing with storms. Even if it's not rain, you're still going to be dealing with pressure systems and so forth. Look at the sandstorms. Well, look at the hurricanes, okay? Where do they originate? Africa, okay? From the Sahara, basically. So it's like, where do you live? What planet do you live on? I would very much like to know, so I didn't know to go there, so I'll never have to deal with storms anymore. Of course, we'll never get rain, never have water, never this, never that. But, there's nowhere, except for maybe outer space. And I have thought about that as well. That was one of the things that played into my thinking also, especially when talking about the low pressure systems I realized that there's a correlation with the pressures, that basically it's gravity. Gravity is when pressure is going low, pressure is going back up. I guess you could think of it that way. That pressure is being released. Well, that's basically gravity being lessened. Whereas with high pressure, it's gravity being intensified. And it made me think of also, with thinking about that, it made me realize what the astronauts go through, like Artemis, with them just doing that slingshot around the moon here recently. And if you see some of the pictures of them coming out of the, coming off of the helicopter, and they're being helped by the Navy personnel to walk across the tarmac of the aircraft carrier. Yeah, you have one person on each side of them helping them across the flight deck. And it made me think about that, how many times we've actually seen that scene, whether there or in Russia, when the astronauts and cosmonauts are coming home from the space station, they're having to be helped and so forth. What is actually happening to their bodies when outer space? Basically, it's the same thing as what we're dealing with here, as when the pressures are going high or low. Yeah, gravity is going to be the same as far as that electromagnetic field is concerned, where gravity, where basically everything is being driven towards the Earth's core. But the atmosphere is also playing a role in how much intensity that is happening. Because with the low pressures, what happens is the pressure is being released, and it's allowing our bodies to expand. Basically, that's what happens. Is our bodies, when we are being subjected to low pressures, our bodies internally are expanding. And it's allowing air gaps to form. It's allowing swelling to happen. It's allowing our, I know what I'm trying to say here. Any sort of ailments, tender areas in our bodies, it's allowing them to expand even more. So, yeah, and that is also keeps swimming around in my head, and it's like, okay, and something I need to look at as well to find out a little bit more what it is that they have them do to get reacclimated. I know a lot of that is physical therapy, what I'm going through. I know I got a hangnail. So I hope this is all making a lot of sense to you all. Maybe helping somebody who's going through similar things. I really should go because I just seen that he just got dropped off by the bus. So yeah, I need to let him know that I am here, I am awake, and so forth. So I'll keep you posted with what more I find out. Maybe especially if I start trying things that might help and so forth. Because right now I'm kind of at a loss too. But at least I've made these breakthroughs to help understand a lot more of what is going on. And now, of course, I'm getting tired again. So I need to move myself a little bit. So anyway, hope this helps. I'll talk to y'all soon, okay? Thanks, guys. Love you.